The Gestapo burst through the door. Marianne Golz didn't flinch. She had seconds to destroy evidence, false papers, escape plans, names. But she didn't move. She had made her choice long ago. The people she helped were already gone, safe. She would take the fall alone. Not long before, she had stood under theater lights, her voice filling concert halls. Applause, gowns, champagne. She'd lived the high life. But when the Nazis came, she traded the stage for the shadows. Forged IDs replaced sheet music. Whispered warnings became her new script. Marianne Golz was no soldier. She wasn't trained to fight. But in the heart of Nazi-occupied Prague, she became something far more dangerous. A woman with nothing to lose and no fear of death. This is not just a story of resistance. It's the story of one woman's quiet war against evil and how she chose sacrifice over silence. Before she was hunted by the Nazis, Marianne Golz knew the power of a spotlight. She stood center stage in velvet gowns, commanding silence with a single note. Her voice could bring tears. Her beauty turned heads. She was Marianne Tolska, opera singer, darling of Vienna and Berlin. But even in the glitter of the stage lights, something darker was always lurking just beyond the curtain. Born in 1895 in Vienna, Marianne's world was art, music, and elegance. She wasn't born into resistance. She was born to perform. She made her name touring Europe, gracing opera houses in Salzburg and Stuttgart, performing beside legends like Richard Tauber. Off stage, she was bold, witty, and unafraid to speak her mind. She was a woman ahead of her time. And then she fell in love with Hans Goldlust, a Jewish journalist. That changed everything. Berlin in the 1920s was electric, but under the surface, it simmered with something sinister. Anti-Semitism crept into policies, then into the streets. Artists vanished. Writers were silenced. Friends became targets. Marianne saw the signs, but many didn't. She refused to look away. She had once lived for applause. Soon, she would live for something else entirely. When the lights dimmed and the music stopped, Marianne didn't fade into the background. She stepped into a much harsher spotlight, one lit by danger, fear, and the eyes of a regime that would come to see her as a threat. The editor's office was raided at midnight. Papers scattered, typewriters smashed. Hans Goldlust had seen it coming, but he stayed. So did she. The Gestapo were closing in. Friends were being arrested, tortured. Names were slipping. Rumors swirled. A leak. A traitor. Marianne refused to run. When her arrest finally came, she didn't fight it. She didn't panic. Because by then, the people she had helped were already gone, free, and she would not give up a single one. She didn't cry when they took her. She straightened her coat, fixed her hair, and walked out the door as if going to the theater. The Gestapo had been watching her for weeks. On November 19th, 1942, they came. Marianne Golz was arrested in Prague and taken to Pankrak prison. She was calm, because she had already made her decision. Everyone else was safe. She had done her job. During interrogation, they demanded names. She gave none. In fact, she did something extraordinary. She claimed full responsibility for everything. Every forged paper, every escape, every act of resistance. "It was me," she told them. "Only me." And they believed her. The people she worked with, many of them younger, less prepared, were released. Marianne remained. For months, she wrote letters from her cell. Some were hopeful, others heartbreaking. She comforted her family, urged them not to grieve. She asked for books, for news. She never asked for pity. Even behind bars, she carried herself with grace. Her friends tried to intervene. Lawyers appealed, but the sentence was sealed. On October 8, 1943, Marianne was executed by guillotine. She left behind no children, no fortune, no grand legacy, only letters, memories, and the silent testimony of the lives she saved. But in the quiet moments before her death, she had no regrets. She had chosen her side. She had kept her silence, and she had done what she came to do. For years, Marianne Golz's story lived in silence, passed quietly between survivors, tucked into letters, whispered in the memories of those she saved. But heroes like her don't stay hidden forever. In 1988, Yad Vashem, the World Holocaust Remembrance Center in Israel, named her righteous among the nations, one of the highest honors given to non-Jews who risked their lives to save Jews during the Holocaust. An olive tree now stands in her name on the hillside in Jerusalem, planted in soil that remembers. Her prison letters were later published, full of calm, clarity, and a deep understanding of the risk she had taken. They reveal not a victim, but a woman who chose her fate with open eyes. One line echoes above the rest: "I had to do it." Today, streets and schools bear her name in parts of Europe. A play has been written about her life. Her name appears in museums, memorials, and archives that tell the truth of what happened and what courage looks like. But Marianne's true legacy lives in the lives she saved, in the families that exist because she said yes when so many turned away, in the fact that she didn't run. She stayed. She resisted. She is proof that resistance doesn't always come with weapons. Sometimes it comes from one person standing quietly in the face of fear saying, "Not this, not me, not now." When Marianne Golz was executed in 1943, there were no headlines, no protests, no farewell. The Nazis kept it quiet. She was just another name on another list. But outside the prison walls, the people she saved were alive, free, because of her. Some of them built new lives in England, far from the world that had nearly destroyed them. Others moved on in silence, never speaking of the woman who had hidden them, forged their papers, or led them across borders under false names. In many cases, they didn't even know who she really was. She never asked for thanks. She only asked that they make it out. After the war, her name faded into the background. She wasn't a famous general or a political leader. She was a woman, a singer, a helper. And in a world eager to move on from pain, stories like hers were too often left untold. But stories like Marianne's don't die. They wait. In time, researchers and survivors began piecing together her letters, records, and testimonies. Her prison writings were published. They revealed not despair, but dignity. Words from a woman who knew exactly what she was risking and why it mattered. In 1988, she was officially honored by Yad Vashem as righteous among the nations, joining the ranks of brave non-Jews who stood up during the Holocaust to save lives at great personal risk. A tree was planted in her name in Jerusalem. It still grows today. Her story is now taught in classrooms, featured in Holocaust memorials, and remembered by those who study resistance, especially the quiet kind, the kind led by women who worked in the shadows, without uniforms or medals. For the world she left behind, Marianne Golz is no longer just a footnote. She is a reminder that even in the darkest years, someone still chose to protect the vulnerable. Someone still stood between evil and innocence. And someone, without a weapon, without an army, fought and died for what was right. Courage doesn't always wear boots. Sometimes it wears a coat, closes the door behind it, and walks straight into danger without making a sound. Marianne Golz didn't set out to be remembered. She wasn't seeking glory. There were no cameras, no applause. She helped because someone needed helping. She resisted because looking away wasn't an option. And when the world darkened, she lit a small candle and refused to let it go out. Her story matters today, maybe more than ever. We live in a world still shaped by fear, still shadowed by injustice. The faces and slogans may change, but the question remains the same. Will you speak up? Will you act when it's easier not to? Marianne's story reminds us that bravery isn't always loud. Sometimes, It's one woman doing the right thing, alone, because no one else will. And for those watching who've spent a lifetime carrying others, raising children, keeping families together, showing up when no one else did, Marianne's story may feel familiar. She didn't fight with fists. She fought with choices, with presence, with love. She reminds us that the most powerful people aren't always the ones in charge. Sometimes, they're the ones no one sees, until history looks back and realizes everything depended on them. Her legacy isn't just a chapter in a history book. It's a call to be brave in our own way, to choose principle over comfort, to stand quietly but firmly when something is wrong. You don't need to save the world, but you can save someone. You can speak truth. You can live with courage like she did. Because when the moment comes, and it always does, the world doesn't need more bystanders. It needs more Mariannes.